team like Muhammad Seymour.
And Mount Zion has another pretty good player, too. He's got 30 D1 offers.
Yeah, J.C. Anderson is a guy who could pretty much pick where he wants to go to college.
Tight end, looking forward to seeing him tonight. Should be a lot of offense. Like you said, last week it was rainy and windy for the game against Mattoon, as we just heard from Adam. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Both teams again 3-2, and Muhammad Seymour hasn't lost a conference game in a while.
3 years.
It's a long time. That's a long time, Sammy.
Thanks, guys. Beautiful night for football, but it's time we dial in on our home team, and that's the Braves. They're 3-2 on the season, coming in on an upset loss where Mattoon, they protected home field and got their first win of the season. Now for Mount Zion, it's time to get back on track, having to do so against a tricky opponent, but with a little extra support for homecoming here in Week 6.
Mount Zion is the host for Week 6 of FNR, and they're coming off a shock loss to Mattoon that they say was a learning opportunity about bringing the effort and not overlooking any opponent.
Definitely effort throughout the week, staying locked in and giving our all out on the field.
We can't take any teams lightly. I mean, every team's going to give us their best football. Every team's really going to strive to beat us and play their best football, so we got to come and do the same. We can't really come in a game, see an 0-4 team come to the game like, oh, we're about to beat them by 40, 50. We got to play our best football no matter what.
They now prepare for a program in Muhammad Seymour that can't be overlooked. But to grab a win tonight, they feel like the key is stopping the run.
Yeah, I mean, they're really good. They got some talented kids. They got a big roster. I mean, all their kids play one way. It's a big challenge for us. I mean, they're a 5A program. They've been in the playoffs every year for the last 4 or 5 years.
Focus on the run game. They're a run-heavy team, so we're focusing on that and just executing all our jobs for every play.
Really just moving the ball and stopping the run on defense. If we stop the ball and get stops on defense, I mean, we're a really hard team to beat.
Muhammad Seymour comes to town for homecoming, making this a game that Trimble and the Braves want to win for more than just one reason.
Oh, it brings a lot of excitement. I mean, since I've been here, the homecoming game's always been very exciting. Homecoming game, also my birthday is like this week, so it's like a big week for me just to really lock in on the game. And since I've been here, I don't think we've lost a homecoming game. So it's a lot of excitement from the school, the fans, and on the team as well. So you never want to lose a homecoming game, go to homecoming the next day with a loss on your belt. So it's a really big game for us.
There we have the home team, Mount Zion. It's their homecoming this week. Trimble's birthday on Sunday. They had the parade on Wednesday. So what's the environment like over there, and how do we like the Braves' chances tonight, guys?
A lot of excitement, of course. Homecoming is always something special for every high school that has their homecoming game. You always want to win that one. Keller Stocks, great quarterback for Mount Zion, has thrown 13 touchdown passes. I talked about how tough Mount Zion is at home, and Muhammad Seymour has a pretty darn good linebacker in Brock Vanderveer.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle of offense and defense all night. Who can outwit who can maybe outsmart who. Mount Zion, though, you have to keep an eye on Braden Trimble. Jacob Harvey on the other side has really stepped up here in the beginning of the season to take some heat off of him and J.C. Anderson. It'll be interesting if maybe a run game can get going for the Braves here tonight. I think they're going to have to be multiple in their attack if they're going to beat the Bulldogs.
Sammy, back to you.
Thanks, guys. Now we switch gears to our visitors, and that would be the Bulldogs from Muhammad Seymour, a team that has rattled off back-to-back wins and have only allowed 9 points between those two contests. They try to keep the momentum going as they look to spoil the Mount Zion homecoming.
The Bulldogs enter Week 6 looking to make it 3 wins in a row, but their first 1-2 start to the season in a long time helped them hit their stride these past 2 weeks.
Well, I think you got to look at the schedule, right? We played some of the top-tier teams in the state. The first one, the double overtime loss, is kind of haunting us right now. Then, I mean, when you play Sycamore, who's ranked number 2 in the state, and you lose by a score, and that score was a kickoff return for a touchdown, we kind of knew where we were at as a team, and so now to be able to start conference play, we also know what we have to defend.
And with how they've played over those past 2 games, the focus, it's just on being the Dogs.
We're just really focused on being us, being the Dogs.
I think we're focusing on being ourselves and really just focusing on the focus aspect. No penalties, no drops on the offensive standpoint. Just overall doing your job on both sides of the ball is like our game plan.
This year, Muhammad Seymour brings a balanced squad up and down the roster, and it's that balance and an unselfishness serving as the team's X factor.
I would say our X factor is how balanced we are. I think our X factor is that you can't just take away one thing. Being able to, again, we've seen it statistic-wise, when teams try to take away the pass, we can hurt you in the run, and then when teams try to load the box, we can certainly hurt you through the air.
Yeah, I think we all play for each other. We don't play for ourselves. I think that's a big thing that we value here at Muhammad, is we do things for each other, not for ourselves.
And the goal this week is to play a complete game, something they feel they haven't done yet this year.
I think just an overall good game, a clean game. We haven't had a clean game all year, I would say, on the offensive standpoint. I think if we have a clean game, we'll come out victorious.
Now that's Muhammad Seymour, a team looking to play homecoming spoiler tonight, making it 3 wins in a row for the Bulldogs. Do they have it in tonight, or is this going to be all about the Braves?
I think this is really going to be a good game. As far as Muhammad Seymour's offense, in the backfield, Byers and Ashby are both very talented. The ground game will be important tonight. Could come down to turnovers as well.
Yeah, it's who's going to step up to really take the load from Trey Peters missing. The Illinois offer yesterday, but he was Luke Dyer's favorite target. There was no hesitation or questions about that. So they've been through 2 games without him, a game and a half really. So do they have another plan in place? They've got a lot of athletes out there. Muhammad Seymour has been one of the more successful Central Illinois teams if you look at the past 4 to 5 seasons. So them being undefeated in the Apollo for over 3 years is not an easy feat. So they know what they're doing here.
Both of these teams have a very good history, very good coaches, and really I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a battle tonight.
All right, Sammy?
Thanks, Paul and Adam. We'll come back to you guys both in a few minutes to talk about some other games. But first, it's time for our Green Certified West to go to the game. Each week, we spotlight one player pregame on both teams that has shined in the first half of the season. And now last week, it was both quarterbacks in our game of the week. And this time, we slide down to the wide receiver. First up for Mount Zion, it's going to be, you guessed it, Braden Trimble. The stud Illinois commit is averaging north of 75 yards a game, a feat he's done in each of the last 2 seasons. He hasn't found the end zone quite as much as you'd expect so far this year, but tonight could be where that changes for Trimble and the Braves. Trimble also celebrating that Sunday birthday, so maybe an early birthday touchdown or 2 for him. And then for Muhammad Seymour, it's going to be Mason Orton, a stud in baseball as well. 5-0 record last season on the mound, 75 strikeouts. He's dangerous at wide receiver as well. A reception in each game this year, including a 2-touchdown performance against Charleston. He is finding a way to make a big impact despite Muhammad Seymour being a team that utilizes the run well as well. Braden Trimble and Mason Orton, your Green Certifies West, go to the game for Week 6. Now coming up after the break, we have plenty more to preview here in Week 6, including a matchup between 2 4-1 teams, while New Berlin put their undefeated record on the line against Olympia. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show.
Well, welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals pregame show. I'm at Seymour and Mount Zion in our game of the week here in Week 6, but there are plenty of other games that we have left to cover here. Less than 20 minutes now from kickoff, so let's bring Paul and Adam back. Guys, 2 games for us to get to here, a really fun slate across the board here in Central Illinois, but the first one I want to talk about is a home game for Olympia. The Pretzels, New Berlin, they're on the road tonight as they take on Olympia, coming off a dominant 35-0 shutout at Pittsfield, while the Spartans, they picked up their first loss of the season when they took on Williamsville. Tough one here tonight for Olympia. Paul and Adam, do you guys think they have enough to rebound, or will New Berlin keep that loss column clean?
I'll tell you what, Olympia played obviously a very good Williamsville team last week, and they lost that one, as you said. New Berlin, I've been very impressed with them. I think that's going to be an outstanding game tonight.
I'm on the pretzel train. I think Coach Dombacher's got those guys going in the right direction. I was kind of surprised by the score last week against Pittsfield. I thought that'd be a pretty tight matchup. They pretty much controlled that game the whole time. Olympia, unfortunately, is down to their 3rd-string quarterback. They had 2 guys go down against Williamsville. I think that's going to make it tough for them tonight. I'm going to go with the Pretzels.
The Pretzels are rolling. They're very confident. They bought into the offense, the system. It's working well. We saw them this season. They're really doing a good job.
Yeah, Clark Nelson scored on the 2nd play from scrimmage last week. Wouldn't be surprised if that happens again tonight.
So I think that'll be a good game. I think the Pretzels might pull that one out, Sammy. I think we both agree.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I'm riding the pretzel train as well. But Springfield High, they're another team coming off their first loss of the year, 4-run record after a tough 5-point loss to Quincy Notre Dame. They now take on Jacksonville, who had that tough loss to SHG in week 3. But they've gotten their revenge against Springfield schools the last 2 weeks. A combined 116 points to just 14 in the last 2 weeks against Lanphier and Southeast. How do you think this one will shake out, guys?
Yeah, this is a huge game for Jacksonville, I think, and Springfield, but especially Springfield High, because after tonight they've got, Rochester, SHG, and Chatham-Glenwood.
Absolutely.
So
it ramps up.
Lost a tough one last week, 14-9, but see how they do tonight.
Yeah, for Springfield High and Coach Hebb, you have to be circling this one to get to 5 wins. Could 4 get you in with their schedule? Possibly here in the state of Illinois, but 5 wins is usually that barrier that you might not have to worry anymore. Jacksonville's schedule is a little bit, so they could still potentially get their 5th win after tonight, but I definitely think Springfield High needs this one, and I was impressed with them last week with Armand Lewis, with the passing game. The wind didn't help them there at the end. Things kind of fell apart for Scheffler, but I was impressed with how they really controlled that, except for the last maybe minute and a half of that football game. It was theirs.
Yeah, and I think Coach Hebb has got that program turned around. I think the kids, they're believing in him, so but I think that'll be a good game. Sammy?
Thanks, Paul and Adam. Get yourself some rest before kickoff, but we still have more to do here. So we switch gears, turning our attention to the eastern side of the state, and for that we welcome in our own Carson Gordy. So Carson, a large number of games going on in the Champaign area tonight. Which do you have your eyes on here as we hit the back half of the season?
Hey, Sam and Sanjean. It's getting hot and spicy over in my territory as the playoff race is cooking. We got a handful of 3 to 4 win teams that are trying to book a postseason spot before it's too late. But it's going to get interesting because somebody's got to lose. And starting off, we got Danville making the road trip to take on the Champaign Central Maroons. On Monday, I met with Central players and the head coach, and they know the beginning of the season was bad. They started 0-3, and they lost their quarterback to a season-ending injury. But the Maroons are just getting better. They won their last 2 games, and so far the defense has only allowed 14 points in the last 2 games, and they want to continue to play nasty and let quarterback Mark Johnson continue to get more comfortable with the offense. And the Danville Vikings come into the matchup desperate for a victory. They're only 1-4, and their only victory was over the winless Urbana Tigers. A loss would make it almost certain that the playoff hopes would disappear for the program this year. And we got another local game as the Champaign Centennial Chargers are making the quick road trip to take on the Urbana Tigers. Centennial is coming off a tough 28-21 home loss to Peoria Notre Dame. The Irish did a decent job of containing dual threat quarterback Kellen Davis. I met with Davis earlier this week. He says the team needs to play more aggressive and more disciplined if they want to go on a deep playoff run this season. Overall, though, the Chargers sitting at 3-2, and a win tonight would be huge for their hopes of getting back into the postseason. And the Urbana Tigers are currently 0-5 and still looking for its first win since the pre-COVID-19 pandemic. This is the program's only 2nd season after not having a team for a couple years, but it's been difficult so far, losing by an average of 53 points per game. And we got some other pretty good games over in Central Illinois, especially a Heart of Central Illinois conference game. Undefeated Gibson City looking to stay perfect, but they got a tricky game on their hands at Tuscola. And Monticello's put together a pretty good start so far with a 4-1 record, and they look to take care of business against 1-4 Rantoul. St. Joseph Ogden has to travel west to face Bloomington Catholic. The Spartans, one of the best squads in Central Illinois, already 5-0 and already notching some pretty impressive wins. And finally, we got Charleston taking on Mattoon. The Trojans started the year pretty hot, but so far they've lost their last 2 games, and they need a win to re-spark its hopes of making the playoffs. But Mattoon, I'm telling you, they are tougher than people expected. Although they're only 1-4 last week, they stunned the Mount Zion Braves in a 35-20 victory. And my crew and I were about to travel to several games, and we will be back later tonight with post-game highlights. I'm Carson Gordy. I'll see you soon. Back to you, Sammy.
Thanks, Carson, and don't forget, we'll have all the highlights from tonight's games coming up in our CEFCU Friday Night Rivals recap show. The recap show kicks off at 10:15 over on News Channel 20, and I'll be breaking down the action from the gridiron with Carson Gordy. Again, that's tonight at 10:15. And for that recap show tonight, we will have all the games we discussed as well as these 4 other contests. Firstly, Decatur Eisenhower looking to get their first win in a trip to Rochester, while MacArthur and Lincoln, they score off in a vital matchup for both teams' postseason chances. Then over to Athens, where Williamsville, they have a shot at starting the season 5-1, but have to do so against a tough Athens team, also fighting for their postseason lives. And finally, a do-or-die game for Porter as they focus on finishing the year strong, but Auburn, they're still searching for their first win and certainly won't make it easy. So again, catch these highlights and more tonight at 10:15. And after the break, we will check in with the rest of our Friday Night Rivals team. That includes a check-in with our own Spencer Davis. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show.
Welcome back to Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show. We're going to be heading back out to Mount Zion as we switch to the side of high school football that isn't necessarily between the white lines. Our sideline reporter Spencer Davis, he's going to bring us something extra each and every week. He's talked to booster clubs, concession stands, and more this season. But this week, Spencer, it's week 6. It's Mount Zion. What do you have for us this time around for the Mount Zion homecoming week?
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. I'm up here in the PA announcer's box for the day, and I'm with Danny Underwood, the PA voice of the Mount Zion Braves. And Danny, what goes on in a day of the PA announcer?
Well, a lot of it's preparation. I'm always here super early, and I get the sheets, I get the times that everything's going to be going on, I get the band announcements, I get any sponsor announcements. Once they get all that to me, and I go over it before the game, and then I'll get the roster, and I'll usually go over to the coach or maybe one of the players that are on the bench, a manager or whoever, and go through the names. We try to take the time to, everybody wants to hear their name and it wants to hear it correctly. The timing of, trying to correlate the pregame music with the coaches when they come out on the field, and plus trying to get the timing right when the band comes down and gets on, and then when the pom-pom girls come on at halftime. Most of the time it works out all right, but every once in a while we'll have a surprise. This is my 29th year total. I think this is like my 144th ball game total, counting playoff games. We still make mistakes. I'm sure you know that on TV that everything doesn't go perfect. So,
Hey, Sammy, back up to you.
Not quite as much experience, but I had the pleasure of being a PA announcer for high school football when I was in undergrad and grad school as well. A really fun job setting the tone there, so thank you for that, Spencer. But when we come back, we'll wrap up our Green Hyundai preview show before sending things out to Paul, Adam, and Spencer for our Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show.
Now we take a look here at Mount Zion. It's about national anthem time, and we're very close to kickoff in our Week 5 Game of the Week here on Friday Night Rivals. Beautiful night here. Fortunately not dealing with the rain we had in the morning, and fortunately not dealing with the wind that we had last week. Some beautiful fall football weather to open up the month of October. And again, our Game of the Week there, Mahomet Seymour taking on Mount Zion. That is certain to be an excellent contest. But that's going to be our time here for the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show. We'll be back next week for our CEFCU Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week. We have Pittsfield, and they're going to be heading over to Pleasant Plains for a very intriguing matchup. Again, two teams that really want to get on the right foot, figure out exactly where they need to be as they approach these final weeks of the season. That one exciting there, but then we flip to the next week, and that contest, Maroa Forsyth and Williamsville, could again be a conference decider. New Berlin, the Pretzels, they may have something to say about it, but those two teams in tip-top shape as they approach the end of the season there on 10-18. And then the final one will be Springfield heading over to Glenwood for a big-time final matchup. Again, the Titans, they've been on a roll, including that upset win over Rochester. So a ton of great games to get to then, and a ton of great games to get to as we round things out. Today, we'll have plenty of games coming up in our recap show at 10:15 tonight. But with that being said, I'll have to send things out and over to Spencer Davis, to Paul and Adam for our Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week, and that would be for Week 6. Mahomet Seymour, they take on Mount Zion.